Well, hello and welcome to Reflections. And I'm lucky today. In fact, it's my best Monday ever so far. And I have Sharron with me, Sharron Fitzmaurice, who's another one of us crazy women who really like to live in the moment. And we were talking the other week about reflections and about autumn and about all sorts of things, which we're going to talk about a bit more in a minute. But we decided to do this little webinar chat for you. And hopefully it'll inspire some of you to think about your reflections too. So who am I? Who's this Ellen Sentier woman? Well, she's actually a crazy cat lady, amongst other things. And I'm a coach. My friends have called me a heartful badass coach. And I really like that. So I stuck with it because I think that's what I am, encouraging everybody to be wild. And I also do wild woman retreats, which are fun. I just did one last weekend and it was very wild, quite windy at times, but very wild as well. And I do podcasts and chat to people and do things like this, hopefully, or lots more with Sharron. Now, who is the Sharron person I've got here with me?
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you, Ellen. Myself and Ellen were smiling before we pressed record for the webinar because we got into a fit of the giggles. And I always say that that's a lovely way to be because it's kind of like our inner child, isn't it, Ellen, coming out and being excited, but also the nerves. And another thing we don't want this webinar is to be so perfect. We want it to be flowing and fun and, that you will reflect on what we'll be speaking about today. So my name is Sharron Fitzmaurice and I'm from Galway in Ireland. And I had the great pleasure of meeting Ellen through my own podcast, the Sharron Fitzmaurice podcast. And I loved Ellen straight away the minute I met her. I just thought she had wonderful energy. And Ellen said to me afterwards, oh, we should do something together. So here we are, and really grateful for sharing our experiences with all of you as well. So I work as a holistic wellness coach in Ireland. I speak a lot on mental health, mindfulness, meditation. For one of the things that was really important to me going through my own healing journey after a lot of childhood adversity was meditation. And it's not just sitting down cross-legged going it's not that. For me, it was an inner reflection on my inner world and where I was carrying my pains, to look at those open wounds that I had pushed aside for so long and to sit with them and listen to what they needed. And it brought me on the most amazing journey of my life. It was tough. It was shitty at times. But I wrote about every experience I had and ended up publishing my own story in 2018. So as myself and Ellen are talking about things, life is always changing for us. And wherever you are at the moment, you may not be in that happy, giggly place that me and Ellen are today. But yesterday, I wasn't in that happy, giggly place. I was in a very restful, quiet, wanted it to be dark, wanted time for myself. And that's why the autumn coming into the winter, as we reflect on the year that has gone by, where we are now, what's working for us, what's not working for us. And myself and Ellen were having this conversation, last week about, and Ellen might share it with you in a moment, just about how nature is changing. It's constantly changing and it's replenishing and renewing itself. But as human beings, we forget to do that. As human beings, we try to stay the same or look the same, and we don't. We're never going to look the same. So for us, this webinar is reflecting on your life right now and reflecting to maybe where you've been in your life and where you would like to go without putting pressure on yourself. And again, where you need structure, because we talk about structure also, but where you need structure in your life. But sometimes to find that structure, we need to look within. We need to reflect on what has been, what is, and what is going to be, knowing that these changes are coming, whether we like them or not in our lives, they will be here. So I'm going to move it over to Ellen now and ask her a little bit about, the structures and the reflections in her own life and for even the last year. And then I'll add my little bit onto it. And maybe as we're speaking, you can take some notes. Maybe there's certain words that will resonate with you and you'll write down, and you'll want to write your own little piece about it during or after this webinar.
And that would be really good if you did, because things come to us and it's always good to just make a note of them then. As well as writing them down, I encourage in the retreats that I do, I get people to doodle. And instead of writing, you doodle. So you start scribbling drawings on a piece of paper, and then you'll scribble another one, and then you find they connect up, and then you find, oh, they lead off somewhere else. Now that really works. So if you like to just sort of have a piece of paper and a pencil beside you and doodle away, that will work very well for you. And it's a sort of structure that I like. We were talking about structure just before we started, because Sharron kindly said, how are you? And I sort of said a bit like shit creek without a paddle this last week, which is actually one of my things that I do. And I help people who get up shit creek and help them make their own paddles. But that's what I've been doing, because I had quite an exhausting time last week. And amongst other things, I had to do this video, and it's for an award thingy that I'm nominated for. I'm all embarrassed by it, you see, it's rubbish. And anyway, I'm not, and I've got to do this thing, so I'm doing it. But I couldn't just do a chat like this for it. It wasn't the sort of thing that would work. I had to do this sort of structured thing about why and what this thing was all about. And normally, we were just chatting about this before. I mean, we've got a sort of set of flashcards things beside us, notes are like, don't forget to do that, don't forget to do that. I couldn't do that. It had to be sort of nearly perfect. Oh, I felt so weird. It is just not me. And I think for an awful lot of us, that happens. We sort of feel we have to be perfect. And our hair's got to be just right. And our specs are just right. I know. And don't even look at mine. And so we get stuck into this thing. And it's really good if we reflect on this over the year. I do it every year. It's part of the old ways I was brought up in, that you spend midwinter, actually, and the 3 days of the solstice. Solstice means standstill, by the way. And so you've got 22nd, 23rd, 24th of December after Midwinter's Day, and you stand still and you reflect. And each day, you'll do some doodles and make some notes and doodly drawings and things. And then you add to them tomorrow, and then you add to them. And then when you've got that quiet moment after the whole family has gone and the turkey is eaten and all the rest of the stuff that happens on Christmas Day, might be Boxing Day by then, and you sit down and you've got a cup or glass of something you like, and you just look through them and you go, yeah, actually that was all right after all. God, I wish that hadn't happened. And how did I get there? And actually this is going to work. And so you're going through this stuff, and it really helps you. Sharron said about, let's look for where we're going. And I was brought up with, right. My dad used to say to me, what if I told you to drive to Birmingham? I went, yeah. And he goes, but I didn't tell you where you start from. Oh, well, think about that. That's really difficult. So reflection enables you to know that, you're actually in Galway, or you're actually here in Shropshire. And then you've got an idea of where Birmingham is with regard to you. And you can start, well, for Sharron, I need to drive to the airport, I take a plane. Oh, I can land in Birmingham. That's not so bad. So you can make a plan. For me, I've got, I get up to Shrewsbury and take the A5, and then I'm all right. I can drive. But I couldn't have done that if I didn't know where I was. And
Mm.
Sharron couldn't have done that if she didn't know where she was. So reflections is like that.
Mm.
You're going, and I want to know what the is about, Sharron.
Yeah, I love it. I'm agreeing with it all. And again, when you were talking about driving anywhere, because years ago I dreaded driving anywhere because I always said I had no sense of direction. And it was amazing how the more I affirmed it in my mind, the more I believed I couldn't drive anywhere on my own. I would get lost. But that again was coming back to my inner belief about myself that I had no sense of direction. It was something that I had repeated in my life after a failed marriage and, not having the career that I wanted to, and looking at myself as if I was a failure compared to people my age, and I was only 23 at the time when I think back to it, craziness. But there was expectations in society, or we placed expectations on ourselves, our schools did, maybe families. And it was something that I learned, that we put so much power and emphasis on other people's expectations of ourselves. And we start believing we are not as good, or we are less than other people because we haven't found what we're looking for. So the reflecting of not knowing where you're going had to start from, again, the inner reflection. As I said, going into myself, looking at my own inner world, my inner beliefs, thoughts, and patterns. Were they serving me? Was I actually aware of what I was thinking every day, what I was feeling every day, and what I was giving energy and power to? So as I reflected on that, and my sense of direction started changing, I started realizing who I was as a person, but who more so who I wanted to be. And that I was no longer that very quite submissive person that believed what everyone else told them, good or bad. That I was now learning to stand in my own power, and that I was going, well, it's okay to be me. It's okay to speak my words, to say how I feel, without somebody telling me that I was wrong or crazy or whatever it was. And so the inner reflection for me, even as we're speaking now, no matter even if I'm in a work, or a career that I love, and I'm doing what I really want, I will still, like Ellen, reflect every year on what has worked for me throughout this year. What did I feel most passionate about doing? Who are the people in my life that bring me the most joy, and they encourage me, and I encourage them back, and I want to meet up with them and talk to them? And who are the people that don't? And
Yes.
again, it might not be that they're doing it intentionally, because maybe they have their own inner reflection stuff to do. But again, it's who am I giving my energy to? What am I giving my energy to? And for me, a lot of the time, and we'll see what Ellen has to say on this, but over the years, people say, did you have a huge plan, once you kind of figured yourself out? First of all, I'm still figuring myself out. I don't think you will ever have yourself figured out, because you're always learning more about you. And the older you get, the more that you kind of stop, putting so much pressure on yourself, but you start saying, okay, well, I'd like to do more of this. And just for instance, a good few months ago, I said I would love to do more collaborations with people. And I interviewed Ellen on my podcast. Well, chat really. I never interview anybody. We were chatting. And Ellen said at the end, oh my God, I'd love to do something with you. And I went, oh my God, that was the fourth invite to collaborate with somebody in those few weeks. So the fact that I said I would love to do something, I was passionate about it. I said it without putting huge effort into it or writing it down, manifesting it. It came from my heart and my soul. And for me, that's what I look at now in my life. When somebody asks me to do something and I just go, absolutely, not even knowing what we're going to do, Ellen, I know that if it feels right for me, we'll figure it out along the way. So maybe you're not sure where you are right now or where you're going, but if you start with this very gentle reflection, just, after this video or this webinar, and just ask yourself, well, where am I now? Again, who are the people that encourage me and support me and love me? where am I spending my time? What foods are nurturing me? How am I nurturing myself? And we do this, and this is why the winter is so important, isn't it, Ellen? It's to allow ourselves that space to be here without having to go out there all the time, just to come back into ourselves gently and easily and without expectation.
Absolutely. And you're just reminding me of something that happened. I did actually do a little live on Facebook on it. I think just before we met, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I got up in the morning and looked out of my bedroom window. I've got nice things to look at my window, right out into nature, because I'm not near any town or people or anything. And at the top of the lane is this beautiful oak tree, huge, great oak tree. Been there 200-300 years, may well be longer. And the shape of them is this beautiful, like, tree shape. And it was all golden and brown and hints of red in the leaves as well, and bits of green too, because she hadn't fully changed. And I was looking at her, and the sun was just right, as it can be in the morning, and she was just coming up out of the mist, because we'd had mist on the ground. And it was like, oh, this is a fantastic painting. I really love it. And so I was sort of really, I don't know whether you've ever done this, but give it a go if you haven't. I reached out to her. I know she was a female tree. I know it was Muzz Tree. And I reached out to her, and she said, oh, hello. And it was like, oh. And I got into what she was feeling. And she was like looking back at me and saying, well, I had a great summer. Bits of it were a bit difficult when it got too dry, but it's okay. And I did lots of photosynthesizing, lots of feeding myself and nourishing myself. And most of the time I had enough water, so it was okay. And loads of birds came and nested in me. There's an owl who actually nests there.
Oh, beautiful.
Which is fantastic. I hear them because it's a pair. And she said, but no, I don't need my leaves anymore now. It's autumn. And so they're all going brown, and they're being very beautiful. And soon the wind will shake them off me. And then I shall be naked for the winter, and I'll just be able to reach my branches into the air. But more importantly, I shall go down into my roots, and I shall start nourishing myself even more from the soil, and feeling the sap going up and down in my trunk, and nourishing me, getting into me, feeling where I am, so that in the spring I can start putting out new buds and new leaves and new life. And it was magical, absolutely
Beautiful.
magical moment.
And I love that, Ellen, when Ellen was telling me that, I'm very visual in my mind. So when Ellen was speaking about it to me before, I was going, I can see it. Even if I didn't have an oak tree outside my bedroom window, I could visualize it. But mostly what I could do is feel that connection that Ellen had, with the tree. And it's about that standing still. It's about standing still and allowing ourselves the space to connect with the earth, grounding ourselves, and really being present in that moment with earth, within our own body, but mostly within our own hearts. And what am I feeling in this moment? And again, just try it somewhere. If you live in a city or a town, there's always trees somewhere in a park around you. Even if you sit on a bench and you don't want anyone to know what you're doing, just stop for a few moments and just look at nature. Watch the birds, listen to the birds around you, watch the sky, watch the clouds. We're always getting messages and signs from nature, but we're quite busy. We're quite busy in our minds, don't mind in our lives. So if you just take those moments to stop and reflect on, where am I? And you mightn't like what you're seeing or feeling. And that happens to a lot of us, because maybe you're not where you thought you would be, because last year you promised yourself you would take care of yourself more, that you would you know, maybe put more effort into a relationship, but it's not giving you the effort back. Maybe you're in a career or a job that is just not satisfying you any longer. You're not being appreciated, or you'd like to do more in it. Maybe your children are, you know, not so young anymore and they're growing up and things are changing in your life. They don't need you as much. And you're kind of going, well, where am I supposed to be now? What am I supposed to do now? So all of these questions, these inner questions in our mind, is a great place to start. And when Ellen spoke about that tree, and I was saying that as I watch nature continuously, it's always showing me the way. I'm not sure about you, but it shows me the way quite a lot. And
Does
if
me all
I
the time.
need to spend time on my own, nature is the first place that I will go to. And as I said, meditating is not about sitting with your eyes closed, you know, and going in, you know, and shutting yourself off from the world, but you can sit with your eyes open. And that is the most beautiful meditation, being mindful of how you feel as you look at something, as you listen. You know, how am I feeling in this moment? How is my body responding to me being aware of it, to me noticing?
Yeah.
Because it is about noticing, Ellen, isn't it?
It's
About
all
noticing the
about noticing.
smallest things.
Yes, it is. And noticing is, again, you know, I was brought up by witchy parents who have been in the old ways, witch ways of Britain for generations, millennia. So this isn't new age stuff. This is like I was brought up in it. There were several other people in the village who were, and their children, and that sort of thing. And it was all quite normal, but we are going back a long way now. And noticing was one of the first things that you were encouraged to do. And we weren't exactly taught, you didn't go to class about noticing. You were out in the garden with, you know, Uncle Percy or something. You know, you were out in the woods with Uncle Jack, or out for a walk with Mum and Dad. And they would sort of say, oh, that tree, isn't that gorgeous? And they would really be meaning it for themselves and to each other. But you were there involved. So you looked at the tree as well. You listened to that bird. You said, oh, that was a black cap. Wow, I haven't heard one yet this year until now. This sort of thing. So you learned by osmosis, by feeling it. But it's noticing what's inside you, but even more, noticing what's outside you. You can't live without what is outside you. For a start off, you can't live without oxygen, and oxygen actually comes from the trees and the plants outside you. So you can have all the intentions you want, but if there ain't no oxygen, whoops,
we're in trouble.
Just a bit. So we are vitally connected to everything. But people live in cities, they've got busy lives, as Sharron said, and poor wretched people, you know, the number of people who have 2 or 3 jobs now is ridiculous. And it is very bad for people and their children and their house, and their lives and their relationships and everything. So they get very little time to notice. And we worry a lot about things that affect us immediately. And it's a case of like letting that go, dropping your leaves, letting them go like oak tree does. I don't need them anymore. They were great. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to be me. And also, I'm going to be me in the winter cold. I'm going to be me in the winter winds. I'm going to be me in the bright, beautiful winter sunshine. And those amazing dark nights where the whole sky is just jeweled with stars. Now, when did you last go out and look at the stars?
Last night.
Well, so did I. But I mean, we're in a different place, Sharron. Not everybody does. And if you live in a town, it's quite hard because there's so much light pollution. You know, you can see the moon and you might see 1 or 2 bright stars, whereas I can look out there and I've got the whole Milky Way going over me.
Well, what about even as you say that, you know, because that's something we all do, is we make excuses going, I don't have that bright sky, I don't have the tree, I don't have the whatever. But it's focusing what you do have instead of what you don't have. So even if there's only 1 bright star in the sky that you can see, focus on that 1 star. You know, I always say the stars are reflecting back our own inner light. I always feel that. And even if there's you can't see a tree from where you are, you all know what a tree looks like. So even connecting with a tree that you passed by or you noticed somewhere along your life in the last few months, even a picture of it, you know, try and connect in with that feeling you had when you noticed that tree. One of the things about the pandemic was it gave us more space to go out and connect with nature, to slow down a little bit. And then we thought we had learned loads of lessons from it and we were going to do lots with our lives because we realized the value of our time and our lives and all of this. And then slowly, the pace started picking up again and people went back into those structures, you know, and that is, I have to go to work, I have to be in traffic, I have to do this, I have to do all the gym, I have to do all of these things, I have to be busy, I have to shop, I have to everything. And again, putting the pressures on ourselves again. We all have practical things to do in our lives.
Absolutely.
Even whether we love them or not, we still have practical things to do in our lives. But the most important way to value your time and yourself is to put in some space for yourself.
Yes.
You are as valuable as all of the other things that you have to do. But if you do not have a structure where you give yourself space every single day, you are devaluing yourself. You're devaluing your worth in this world. You're devaluing what you are giving to other people, but not giving to yourself.
Yeah.
So as the tree is replenishing, as Ellen said, it has to stop. It has to let things go. It can't just have a full branches full of trees all year round. It's not natural. So it lets go of what it can't carry any longer, what it doesn't need, and it allows itself to renew and to replenish. And as Ellen said, going down to the roots. So we need to go down to what is keeping us grounded, what is keeping us stable and secure, and what is not. And what is good for us, we bring up through us, out through the branches. And I always love this about a tree. It's like it's reaching out to the world.
Yeah.
And it's reaching up to the universe and going, here I am ready for new growth. I am ready now for good things to come my way because I deserve it. And what you have to do is stand still in that belief and that feeling that you deserve more than whatever you are feeling right now.
And a good way to do that is, we've got lots of words about time. We say, I haven't got time. I've spent time on this. I've given time to that. Rarely that one. I've made time. Rarely that one. I haven't got time. I've spent time. My bank balance of time is all empty. So you need to gift yourself back time. And in that gift, you're not just giving it to you, you're giving it out to the tree, to the cat who you didn't stroke since yesterday, to, you know, your kid who you haven't really actually spoken to properly, other than like, have you had your breakfast? Get on your school? Have you got your coat? And you haven't gifted them time. But if you gift yourself time, then you can gift it back again to other people and to other things. And when you do this gifting, this exchange, it's so important. All life is exchange. I mean, even stars do exchange. That's how they have babies. And it is really, honestly, I'm married to a physicist, so
yeah. She knows.
Oh, well, you know, I've had it with cornflakes for 50 odd years, so don't worry about it. But no, we need to gift. And we need to, if you give, I mean, you know, I've got this lovely present for you, Sharron. And Sharron sort of goes, oh, no, really, no. How does that make me feel? I'm trying to give you something that I know you want because I've heard you say so. And you're saying no. You're fighting me off. Yeah. So if you're going to give, you have to learn to receive. And so, as I know Sharron wouldn't do that, but you know.
Oh, I'd say thank you very much.
Absolutely, you see, and your hands would be out there asking for it, and then I sort of feel like my heart will get bigger. And here you are, and this lovely exchange between us, and we need to do that with each other. But we need to do that with everything that we live with. And I've got this funny little habit. You may have it too, Sharron, that I go out of the house and I'm going to the shops or something. And so I lock the door and I actually pat the door and say, I'll be back soon.
Yeah. I say that to my house, or if I'm in my therapy room and I finish for the day with clients,
Yeah,
as I
thank you
look
very much.
back and I've cleaned up, I'll say, thank you very much
Yes.
for allowing me this space.
Yeah, I do it with my car too. I sort of get out of him. He's a he this time. Shut his door and he locks himself. And you know how cars would go,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
almost like he's saying bye bye.
yeah,
And I'll pat him and I'll sort of say, thanks for that. Thanks for getting me to the shops and back. And we didn't have an accident. That was great.
yeah. Do you know
And
what that is in a way,
it's
Ellen, as you're speaking? It's the appreciation for, the things and the space we have. But if we're appreciating the space we have and the car and the whatever else you're appreciating in that day and being grateful for it, do we stop at the end of the day and say, thank you, Sharon, thank you, body, thank you for allowing me to do all of these wonderful or not so wonderful things today. Thank you, body, for keeping me strong while a loved one was passing away.
yes.
Thank you for holding me up when I felt like running away from that really, stressful situation, but I stood my ground, even though my legs were shaking and my heart was ready to burst open and the tears might have wanted to come out my eyes. Thank you for holding me strong. But
Yeah.
just thank you for allowing me to be here
Yeah.
on this journey, even
Yeah.
through the struggles and the challenges.
Yeah.
But also, what looking at the balance of it is all the amazing blessings
Yeah.
that you have allowed me to participate in this body, the people that we've touched hands with, we've hugged, we've met, smiled to, even if it's only on the screen, that you know what, being appreciative of ourselves each day, even for the smallest little things, we keep adding to the energy of that, and we realize that no matter what the day has been, if we can stop and just appreciate ourselves, our body, the small things in life, they are the most important.
They are. And it's like that. I love that reflection at the end of the day. And yes, I do it. Usually, as I said, I'm a crazy cat lady. So I sleep with my cat. And so there I am, and she comes up and she'll look at me and plonk herself down beside me. And I've just got my hand on her. And there's something about, and you touch an animal, and when you touch a tree, and when you touch a plant, they don't have the same that humans often have. And she just sort of like pulls it out of my fingers, and I'm there sort of saying, oh, thanks for today.
Yeah.
Well, that went right, even if that and that went wrong. But that went right.
Yeah.
And so I can sort of thank that. And then, I'm actually a much nicer person the following day, because I'm not all strung out about the things that went wrong.
And you've learned to appreciate yourself, because again, if we're waiting for other people to appreciate us, that may not happen. There again is our expectations and the disappointment. So if you learn to start appreciating yourself, you will respect yourself more. You will value your own time. You will value what energy you want to give out to other people and other projects or whatever it is. You will say, I deserve more time for myself. I deserve to be appreciated and respected. And people will give that to you.
Yeah.
If you feel like right now you're being unappreciated, it's because you're not appreciating yourself enough. It starts always with ourselves.
And there's an old phrase. I suspect it. I have no idea where it came from. And it says, you cannot change anything but yourself. But in changing yourself, you will see the world change around you.
Yeah, I love that.
Love that. You've changed. Your perceptions have changed. Your giving out has changed. The energy that you give is kinder, nicer, warmer, but firmer and strict as well with your own boundaries.
Yes.
And you change you and things happen. I said I've been having physics with the cornflakes for 50 years. It's not quite, but it is nearly that husband and I have been together. And like all relationships, it's like this. And we both feel that we deserve bloody medals. But we're quite open about that with each other. And as you get there, you realize that all relationships are going to be up and down and up and down. And it's like surfing. You ride the waves. You ride the waves all the way through. And you stop expecting TV advert Hollywood out of it. You start noticing what you've really got.
Yeah.
You know, I've got this bloke who's actually quite a good friend.
Yeah.
Who's actually been there for me. And I've been there for him. And I've got this bloke I live with who I can say and scream at him. And he just sort of sticks his head back in his laptop and takes no notice. And I come out again and he looks up and says, "You want some tea now?"
Oh, I love that. And it is the simple things, Ellen, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and maybe that's something our listeners would like to do for themselves as we're speaking, you know, is maybe just writing down 3 things that you're grateful for, you know, that have passed in the, you know, last few months or last week or just today. And maybe 3 people that are really important to you that you appreciate in your life, you know, because you don't have to have circles and circles and circles of people. Usually we say we have our closest friends are, you know, you can count on one hand, the people you really, there you are, that you can really want to speak to, you know, will listen to you. They mightn't be able to fix anything, but they're there for you when you need them. And when Ellen was talking, that's something that I had written down, because we were saying, you know, is there 3 things that made you happy this year and 3 things that made you sad? But is there a gift even in the sadness of whatever those 3 things were? And I was reflecting on that myself. And I was trying to think, Ellen, about what made me sad. And I was going, nothing really made me particularly sad, as I have a perception of sadness. But what made me sad, or I suppose it was changing in my environment, was my second child was leaving home for the first time. And he's 21. And he had gone through his own transition in life, which was quite hard. And it's quite hard as a parent to watch him and not be able to help him, you know, the way he needs the help, because it's something he has to figure out for himself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that was a lesson in itself. And I couldn't fix it for him, but I could be there to support him as best I could. Even if he wanted it or not, I was there. And then, so when he did move out, it was a sadness, because seeing him pack up his stuff, his little life in his few bags and moving on, there was also a happiness in it that he wanted to be independent, that he wanted to move on and make his own path. So in a way, I was happy, because I thought, well, we've given him those roots, those foundations to grow strong and spread his branches out. You know, they're not going to go fully out there yet, but that we are the foundation. We are the roots for him that he can always come back to and fill up if he needs to. He has them energetically. So when you look at something, whether it be happy or sad in your life, you know, and even though you think, oh, it was the saddest thing that ever happened to me, and again, I come back to one thing for me, and then we'll ask Ellen maybe what made her one thing sad and happy, just to see if she can reflect on it and kind of make sense in your head of what we're speaking about. My sister passed away many years ago, and she went through a really hard time physically, mentally, as she had a disability. But as I watched her growing, she was just our sister. There wasn't that there was anything wrong with her. She was our sister. But when it came to her transitioning from this world, it was a really sad time, but it was also a happy time that she got to have 28 years on this earth with us and shared so much, even though she didn't speak or she couldn't walk. She gave us the most love from a quiet corner of our sitting room. And we call her our angel in the corner of the house. And since she transitioned, she is still so connected to me. She is so part of my life. And I think of her every single day. And I have lost 2 children, and I feel they're a part of my life. So even though all of those things were sad, there was so many gifts from those sad moments that I now cherish. And instead of focusing on the sadness so much, I am focusing on the gifts that I received from those sad situations, because it's never going to be the same, no matter what. Because that is, again, like nature, it's constantly changing, constantly evolving, constantly growing. And we have to try and go with our flow of life as well, especially as we get older, because life definitely changes. But again, maybe reflect on that. And we're going to ask Ellen now, maybe she has one thing that she was happy and one thing she was sad about, and what the blessings were for her in both, Ellen.
Well, happy first, then let's do that. I've always had cats, and they're always rescue cats, because I can do rescues. I don't need a new kitten to, form like I wanted or be like I wanted. I can take some poor soul who's had a rough time and give them a home. And I like to do that. So my latest cat, who I've now had for a little bit over 3 years, and it's the usual thing. She was probably a Christmas present or something, and they didn't have her spayed and neutered, and so she went off and got pregnant, and then it was, oh, you horrible cat, you're pregnant, get out. And she managed. She's a survivor. She's very fierce, and very lovely. And she managed, and she had 2 beautiful kittens when she was, about 7 or 8 months old, and living wild at the time, or, feral. And then Cats Protection found her and managed to catch her and her kittens. And there she was for me when I needed her.
Yeah.
But of course, at first, it's like, who are you? What's going on? What's happening? And she is really scared. And I know I sit with her. I'm just there with her, just oozing love. And I don't force her to be stroked. I don't force her to be picked up. And we're 3 years down the line, and she began this year to get into my lap and paw me and say, move that laptop, me. And that is so huge, because she curls up and she's really defenseless. I could kill her. I know she'd fight, but because she's so defenseless in my lap, and she was happy to be vulnerable, happy to be defenseless. And I was just crying the first time she did it. I just sat there, and eventually just squeaked to Paul, husband, she's doing it. And you just don't want to breathe. And so I thought, oh, that's another little soul who at least feels secure here. And she was very good with the retreat people who came last weekend as well, which she hadn't been before. She'd been a bit sort of like, not sure about these people, because they're new, never seen them before. But this time she talked to all of them. She sat on the back of the sofa and let them walk past her and let them stroke her. So, this is my place. I live here. This is fine.
Yeah.
So this is wonderful to me. So like your son being capable of going off on her own, she is now capable of being here.
Yeah. Giving space to them and allowing them to be.
This is the way to do it. There isn't, you can't train an animal. You can kowtow them or bribe them to do what you want, but that's not real. That's not a heart connection. Anyway, Kelly is fine. And on my sad thing, it's been happening over the past 2 years. It is very much in my face earlier this year. They're a friend for years and years and years and years, and yet we're just moving apart a bit. And I still love her, and she still loves me, but we are actually moving in slightly different directions. I don't think we'll ever lose each other.
Yeah.
But where we were able to do lots of things together, now it's much more difficult. We both sort of trip over each other. It's not quite right. You all know this feeling. You all had it. I've got to let her go.
Yeah.
I've got to let her go her way. And I remember all the wonderful times that we've had, the holidays we've
Mm,
had, and the things we've done. And we're not going to have it like that anymore.
mm,
And that is really quite sad. It's it is a death in a sense, but it's a
mm,
very long, slow one.
yeah.
And I've got to be all right with it.
Mm,
And if I'm not, she won't be.
yeah.
And, if she's not, I won't be. So we've both got to let each other go. We've got to drop our leaves together.
No, Ellen, that's so beautiful. I can even feel the emotion in that
Mm.
because it's so true. And I'm sure there's listeners that are listening to you saying that. And again, allowing each other the space to grow as individuals, even though you're best friends and have
Yeah,
shared so much. But that, and again, this happens quite a lot in people's lives, friendships, family, relationships. And you can't try and force people to stay. You can't force them to do what you always did before because we should grow.
yeah,
As again, change is inevitable. It's the only thing that is going to be really sure of in this life that change will happen. And, there's that saying as well, if you love them, let them
let
go.
them go. Yeah.
And it's so true, as much and all as you might love somebody, your children, your partner, someone that's transitioning from this world into the next, and you want to keep them just one more day or one more month, when they're ready and when the soul is ready, it will always leave this earth and it will go because it has its time. But the
It
same
is.
goes, we allow people
We do.
instead of
We must
holding
allow
on.
them. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's this fist thing.
yeah,
I'll use my pen. Like I'm clutching my pen.
mm, yeah,
I've got to let it go.
yeah,
And when you try and hold a person or
mm,
a place or anything that you love, and you
yeah,
try to hang on to it will get away from you faster than anything.
yeah.
That is how to lose something is to clutch it.
When you think about your cat,
Yeah.
and if you had forced it to get on your lap and held it tight, it will fight to get away because it feels like it's being trapped. And
And she'd
people feel
probably
like that.
run.
Oh, run.
She'd
Yeah,
probably run. I mean, this is what she did before
yeah,
when she was abused.
yeah.
And if I do it, she will definitely run because my God, it's happening again,
Mm,
going through her head. I
mm,
have to get out. And it happens with the people that you love. It happens
mm,
with the places that you love. You have to move house. I've had to
mm,
do that 3 years ago and it hurt like hell, but
mm.
I'm really happy.
Yeah.
You've got to let go. And
Mm,
this time of year, as we're coming down to the shortest day, the darkest day, that is a good time to sort of look at these things and say,
mm.
it was great knowing you, whatever it was, like something you can no longer eat, which happens as well.
Yeah.
I used to love bread and I can't eat bread anymore.
Mm,
That's fine. That was wonderful. I've got memory. You're gone. Thank
mm.
you very much. And always thank things when you let them go.
Yeah, thank you for being part of my life for whatever amount of time that was.
Exactly.
And even though it's not good for me now, I can still be grateful to it. And we can be grateful even for the not so good experiences. And I know that's very hard for some people too. Maybe
We
they're not
always
at that
learn
place
from
yet.
them, don't we, Sharon?
Yeah, Ellen, I would say everything that, if you would class it as good or bad or negative or positive, every negative experience, and I always say this to my clients, well, what have you learned about yourself
Exactly.
from that experience?
So do
How
I.
have you grown? Because say, well, one person might say, well, I've learned that I'm never going to be taken advantage of again. Another person
Good.
might say, yeah, well, it was my own fault. I allowed them to treat me like that for years, whether it was in a workplace or a friendship or family or whatever it is, and I'm not doing it any longer. I'm pulling back. So that's great. There's another lesson learned. It's about, again, I suppose, respecting yourself, but trusting yourself is a huge thing.
Yes, it is.
So, and you will know this, Ellen, from working with people. People will say to me always, well, years ago I wanted to do such a thing, but I didn't believe I was good enough.
Mm.
So I didn't trust myself enough to step into it and try it out. So instead of trying it, I now am regretting that I didn't do it. So I'm
Yeah,
living with the regret. And then I will say, well, you're holding on to the regret. That's your choice. But it's still never too late to try something new. And it's not about succeeding. The whole
no,
beautiful
it
thing
isn't.
about it is trying it and
Yeah,
seeing, well, maybe that's not for me, but what if it is for you?
yeah.
At whatever age, you can try anything. You just have to say, oh my God, who's going to know about it? It's me. It's not about anybody else. It's me. And if I try it and I fail or succeed, it doesn't make a difference. I know I've tried it. And then you can go and tell people, and you'll be surprised when they come back and say, well, good for you for trying. Oh, I'd be so afraid to do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 Trust yourself. Trust you can do anything. It's just about trying, and go for it. And you might actually surprise yourself and succeed. And not even just the succeeding, you might love it.
I find this so often with clients, and there's a horrible authority figure thing that hangs over so many people, that somebody said, oh, well, you're too old to do that, or you're too young to do that, or you can't do that, you're a man or a woman or something. And they've got some reason in their own head. And because they say it in a manner that is like authoritative for you, you sort of go, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah.
And you actually do this. I mean, I exaggerated the movement, but you'll find you do it in yourself. I watch clients do this, and then I will exaggerate it back, and they go, oh yeah, I did do that. And you just say, look, it doesn't matter. They're not living your life. They haven't got your experience. They don't know. You want to have a go. One of my teachers sort of said, how would you feel if I invited you for a weekend's underwater pony trekking? Oh, what pictures did you all get in your heads there?
Yeah, I was trying to go, is this something new?
Yeah. And when he first told it to me, I got this wonderful Selwell pony cartoon with an oxygen tank and a mask on the pony's face.
I was trying to think, is this a joke somewhere that I'm just not getting?
Or is this really, is this something I can actually do,
Yeah.
But his point was like, don't be in the box, don't be restricted. It was like, what happens if I invite you to do something crazy? It's happened to me in 2017. I'm married to this physicist bloke, and lovely, and I've met amazing people through him and all this kind of thing. I can do enough maths to do my accounts. That's arithmetic. And the rest of it is like, really? But I can understand the concepts, because he's quite good at doing quantum physics in the cat sat on the mat language. And he'll do examples and demonstrations, and you go, oh, I see. And so I was quite good at that. So I've been following a thing called nuclear fusion, which I hope is the way to get energy in the future. It works. It's already working, and they're starting to build power stations for it now. Doesn't get anything like the news it should do. And we met some people from there, and they have a summer school on doing this stuff. And I was following them on Twitter and chatting, and I said, oh, if I was sort of 40 years younger, I'd come to that. And blow me, the woman, fantastic woman, who's running the course, said, well, why don't you? And so I said, I think we better talk on the phone. So we talked on the phone. I said, I can't do maths. She said, and so I said, well, I can't do maths. She said, well, can you understand the concept? Oh yeah, that's fine. Oh, we'll sign on then. Come on.
There you go. You were making yourself, again, it's excuses, isn't it? We put ourselves out there because we're afraid of being judged or looking silly or stupid, instead of just going, well, let me try. And just as you said, well, I'm just going because I love the idea of it. I'd like to try it out. And that's the same, even if it's a different career change or a new relationship. You've always gone for the same type of people. Maybe now it's to change and go, well, they weren't working for years, so maybe now I have to broaden my horizons a little bit.
Yeah, I've done that. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
Yeah.
Now I need to be doing this.
Yeah.
And when I went on this 2-week summer school, I got the concept. It was fantastic. And every time all the geeks got into doing their maths, I went out for a walk.
Best of both worlds.
Nobody fussed.
No.
Sort of looked at me and said, but don't you like maths? I went, no, hate them.
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? And it's again the way our mind works. So again, we can't compare ourselves to everybody else because
No,
again, through our environment, where we were brought up, our families, all the things, the person we are, the way our mind works, some can be very creative, some very analytic. And you don't have to be the same as anybody else, but it doesn't mean you can't go like Ellen and try something new, even if you think, well, I'm never into it. I don't really understand that. But again, if something clicks with you and you say, I'd love to learn more about it, go, try it. Just see what experience you're going to, um, share something new with yourself. Maybe you'll add to it with somebody you're sitting beside. Everybody
absolutely.
is a messenger for us.
Yeah.
Every time I listen to Ellen speaking, she says things and there's little dings going off in my
And the
mind. And
same to
I'm,
me with Sharron,
yeah, I love it. And that's why we need to interact and share, our reflections, our stories with each other. And say, because we've always something to new, we have a new way of looking at things, a new perspective. So no matter what age you are, you can still learn something new, or how to do it better for yourself, and maybe how to look at yourself.
One little thing that you can do. I went off and, to this conference, this summer school, and I was staying away and all this sort of thing. And you get there. Now, I loved it on the first day. It was like, oh yeah, this is my place. This is okay. But what if I'd hated it?
Yeah.
Well, I could say to the bed and breakfast, sorry, I got to leave now. Got in my car and driven home.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did not have to stay.
No, you're not forcing. No one is forcing you to
No.
stay anywhere or do anything.
So
It's trying it out.
There, like, I didn't want to do the maths, so I went for a walk.
Yeah, yeah. Good for you, Ellen. And I think that's
all do that.
Yeah, and I think that's a lovely kind of lesson for all of us, is to say, well, let me try it. If I don't succeed, it's okay. I can leave. I don't have to force myself into staying for anything. And again, my mother went back to college and did archaeology and English at the age of 58.
Absolutely perfect.
Yeah. I have a niece that went to college, and there was a man of 77. He went back. He said, I'm not looking to make a career, but he said, I want to meet new people. I want to have a different focus on my life. I want to have a reason to get up in the morning.
Yes.
So we can all change our focus and perspective on our own self and our lives at any time.
Yep.
And that's like nature, and we were talking about the weather here in Ireland, and we've had lots of kind of winds and hailstones and everything. And you look at the trees and they're still standing really strong.
Yeah.
And now the leaves are gone because these winds of change, as I call them, they come in, the rains come in. So they can be like the circumstances of life.
Yes.
If we don't choose, sometimes I'm talking about ourselves, if we don't choose to let something go, something else will come in and force us to let it go.
Yeah.
Isn't that true, Ellen?
It's absolutely true. So really do use this winter. Do gift yourself some time over the midwinter holiday and take time to reflect.
Yeah.
And always there are these lovely good things that happened, and there are these things that you didn't like, that made you sad, but they're there, they happened, and things that are good will always keep coming. They'll always keep coming. So do have a lovely reflective midwinter.
Beautiful. And I'm just going to share a little affirmation that Ellen loved. It's at the bottom of my email, and it's been there for quite a number of years. And I love when people point it out, because I'm going, oh, so there's certain people that will take notice of it, and there's other people say, oh, I've never seen it. So again, where are you looking, or what are you looking for in your life? But I'll share it with all of you. And maybe it's something you can play again, write it down if you wish. And you, as you're reflecting over this midwinter, over the festive season, into the new year, into January 2023, you don't have to make all of those decisions right now. But as you reflect on what has gone before you, what you want to let go, that you're creating space for new things to grow, even if it's only a small space for right now. It doesn't have to be huge branches, but what would you like the spring to look like for you?
Yep.
What do you want yourself, your branches, your mind, your body, your life to look like as we move into the spring of 2023? And even if you think it's fantasy or crazy, it doesn't matter. Write it down. Just start putting ideas and inspirations for yourself. And as you're doing that, you're bringing in more of what you want, what you would like and love to have in your life. And slowly but surely, those other things will start going into the distance without you maybe having to force them to go. They'll just naturally go, just like the trees letting go of the leaves. So I'll share this affirmation for you and just kind of reflect on that even for a moment as I'm reading it and what it means to you, and use it as often as you wish to. Through grace, inspired and influential people are coming into my life. New doors are opening daily, providing me with opportunities to achieve my true potential. I am grateful for the abundance which flows constantly to me now. It's very simple, but very powerful.
Yes.
So when we say inspired and influential, it's not people that we see on the telly and in the news. Influential are people that can help, they influence you. It's like Ellen would be an influencer to me, because what she's doing is influencing me to grow more and to be more truer to myself, to connect more to what I love doing. So watching people that you admire, listening to them, is going to influence the choices that you make in times and years to come. And new doors are opening daily.
Yes.
And I love this one because, again, sometimes when you work from what you would like in your life, suddenly somebody's literally standing at your door or maybe on the phone and going, Ellen, would you like to do this with me? I heard that you like doing these things. And you're going, oh my God, somebody thought of me. You have to think of yourself first, and then other people will think of you. And providing those opportunities to achieve your true potential. Now, we have no idea, I think, what our true potential is, because we came into this world with everything, with so much power, with so much wisdom, but we've got this human amnesia that we don't remember anything. We have to relearn everything. But that if we could tap into that potential, tap into that belief and power within us. And again, as I sit with Ellen, I'm tapping into that potential. I'm tapping into sharing what I know with Ellen, and I'm taking in what Ellen is giving me, and it's filling me up. It's adding. It's wonderful. Absolutely. So that's why sharing is so lovely. The giving and receiving, as Ellen said. When I give, Ellen is receiving, and then she's giving back to me again. It's just energy flowing in and out. But the biggest part is I am grateful for the abundance which flows constantly to me now. And abundance is not just about financial abundance. No. Abundance is love, trust, respect, appreciation, all of the beautiful things that you want in your own life for yourself and others. I am abundant in love. And it is so beautiful.
I am abundant in joy.
I love it. And it's even saying that, what am I abundant in right now? And if some of you are going, well, I'm abundant in bills, or I'm abundant in sadness, yes, that's a truth for you, but balance it out. What else are you abundant in? Have a negative and a positive. Remember, they're the laws of the universe. They have to balance. So you might have an abundance of bills, but what else have you an abundance of in positive energy that's going to balance that out for you? Keep balancing yourself, aligning yourself, centering yourself with, yes, this is all weighing me down, but I also have this to balance it out. Yeah.
Absolutely, Sharron.
Yeah.
Well,
so Ellen, have you anything else you would like to add?
Other than have a fantastic midwinter, everybody. And don't overwork yourself. And do remember there's a very good little word, which possibly we don't use very much. It's only got 2 letters. It's no.
I like it.
And saying no, you're going to do the washing up, Mum? No.
Yeah.
And make space, give yourself space. because when you give yourself space, you give others space. I have a fantastic midwinter. And I don't know, Sharron, but I sort of feel like, should we come back after the new year and do something for spring?
Absolutely. I think it would be lovely. So
So
again, if you have
get another dose
enjoyed
of
this,
us then.
yeah, if you have enjoyed it or you've got something from what Ellen was saying or what I was sharing with you, please do let us know.
Please, yeah.
Because it is lovely to get feedback from listeners. And if there's any questions you have for either of us, please do check out ellensentier.com, because Ellen will be able to help you if you're looking to say, well, I'm not sure where to go. Ellen can say, well, let's have a call about it and see if we can work together. Or if
And
you would
so
like to
can
check out.
Sharron too.
Yeah.
I think this is going out on both of our YouTubes as well, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So
Check us out
check us out.
and
See you
don't be a
soon.
stranger. And we look forward to seeing you all again in the new year. It's been a pleasure again to share this space with Ellen and share her wisdom and her love for life, even if it's not always perfect, because we're not perfect and we don't care. We just like being us.
We're just crazy old ladies.
We're cat women.
Totally. See you next year for
Thanks a million for listening. We'll talk to you all soon.